A chronicle of James Brown's rise from extreme poverty to become one of the most influential musicians in history. This is my review of Get On Up. So I went to see Get On Up a few weeks ago with my dad, and I didn't know what to expect when I went to see this movie because when I first saw the trailer, I thought the trailer was good. It made the movie look good, so I had mild expectations going into this movie because I didn't know if Get On Up was going to be on the same level as, let's say, Walk the Line or Ray. But I have to say that after seeing Get On Up with my dad, that the movie is an alright movie in my opinion. The good points. Definitely the greatest thing coming out of this movie is the performance of James Brown by Chadwick Boseman. For those of you that don't know, Chadwick Boseman also starred in another biopic which came out last year called 42, which was the biopic about the baseball player Jackie Robinson. And I saw a movie last year and I thought that Chadwick Boseman did a good job playing Jackie Robinson. And that was the first time I saw Chadwick Boseman in anything. And after seeing Get On Up, I think that he outdid his performance as Jackie Robinson 10 times over. And I say that due to the fact that he gave a really good performance. Throughout the movie you saw like his facial expressions, and he did a really good job with his facial expressions. You saw all the emotions like flow out. You saw him be happy, you saw him going through turmoil, you saw him going crazy at some moments. And Chadwick Boseman did a good job playing James Brown during the concert scenes in the movie. Because when he's singing and dancing throughout the movie, like you feel like that this is James Brown. But not just during the concert scenes, but during the other scenes as well, because Chadwick Boseman had this unique voice that he made to sound like James Brown, and it did sound like James Brown. And I'll say this right now, I think that this is one of the first really big Oscar roles for this year. And that's simply due to the fact that Chadwick Boseman just embodied James Brown in the movie. The next best thing coming out of this movie are the costume and production designs, because I think the movie had a time frame of the 1940s up to the 1990s, and I believe there were scenes for each decade, and I thought that it was done really well to show the evolution of just the surroundings and the clothing from the 40s up to the 90s. Another good thing about this movie is the makeup and hairstyling, because when I saw the characters age throughout this movie, I thought that it was done really well because it looked realistic as to how they would age. The only other things that I can say are good about this movie are some of the directing by Tate Taylor, who also directed The Help, which I really liked. Some of the acting by the rest of the cast, which included Viola Davis, who played the mother of James Brown, and I forgot the actor's name, but the actor who played the friend of James Brown. And there was some writing and some editing done throughout the movie that I thought were good. The bad points. The thing I hated the most about this movie, and I think this has to do with the editing and the writing, is that the movie was chronologically out of order, and I just didn't like that. For other movies it can work, and sometimes it worked in this movie, but overall I think that this movie did not need to be out of order chronologically. I liked the way the movie began with the scene of old James Brown, but then I didn't like the transition into the next scene because it transitioned into a scene from the past of James Brown during his heyday, and I was like, okay, let's see where this is going, but then it transitioned into another scene from the past of James Brown as a kid, and it went from there. And I didn't like that because it would go along this line of events, then it would go to a scene from the past, but then it would go back to that other scene, and then go along the same line, but then it would go back again. What I would have done is that have the old James Brown scene at the beginning, because that was a good way to start the movie with, but then when the scene transitions into a scene from the past, it would probably, in my opinion, start with the James Brown as a kid scene. And after that scene, it would go on chronologically towards the end of the movie. But like I said, I think that this decision had to do with the way the movie was written and the way it was edited. And speaking of the writing, I didn't like some of the writing throughout the movie either. It would have had good writing at some moments, but other moments it would have had confusing dialogue or confusing story points. As for the editing, I didn't like some of it because I thought that there were scenes that could have been worked on to fix the pace issues, because there were some scenes that I thought were a little bit too fast-paced, like they had like quick cuts put together, or I thought that some scenes were just a little bit too slow paced. And I guess that has to do with the next bad point, which is some of the directing by Tate Taylor. Like I said before, I thought that Tate Taylor did a good job with some of the directing, and by some of the directing, I mean with the confrontational scenes in the movie and with the concert scenes. But the reason I didn't like some of his directing was because he slowed down some of the scenes a little bit too slowly. Or in other cases, I didn't like really feel that there was any drama in some particular scenes. The last bad point I'll say about this movie is that I thought that some of the acting could have been better because I felt that some of the supporting actors were just giving a generic performance, because I didn't feel that they put their own spice into their performance or their own hint of acting into their performance. Like I said, I saw this movie with my dad. My dad gives this movie a 3.25 out of 4 stars, while I give it a 2.75 out of 4 stars. Like I said, I thought it was an alright movie. Chadwick Boseman gave an Oscar-worthy performance in this movie, and I liked other aspects from the movie, but the only problem I had with the movie were with the fact that the movie was out of chronological order, and with some of the editing, writing, directing, and acting. So that was my review of Get On Up. Hope you guys liked it, and other than that, guys, that's it.